final round of my Las Vegas chess tournament, and this was an opening disaster. I mean, I'm going to share some thoughts of the tournament overall at the end of the video, but you're going to learn two things. One, openings can be disastrous, and two is that zugzwang is a very, very nice way to win a game, and I'll show you exactly what that means in a moment. But here we go. We have an Alapin. He plays d5. I take, and play d4. This is all totally fine. Black oftentimes doesn't need to take on d4, but when they do, it gives white an isolated queen's pawn, right? This pawn has no buddies on the C or E files, but white has a lot of open lines to play with. So usually white wants to try and play with some initiative. They don't want to go into an endgame because this pawn might be something that can be a target. But here we go, e5 right away. And it's like, well, I guess I could take, but then I just, lose my castling rights, king's right in the open, and all the pieces except for the queen are on the board. So usually the move is knight f3. They go and pin that. It's like, that's fine. You can go ahead and pin my knight, but knight c3 and I'm hitting your queen. But my opponent goes for bishop to b4. They're going with these crazy bishops. They're like, I want to pin everything. I want to pin everything and play e4 and then go and win a piece. And here, I have seen this before. And the reason why this irks me so much is because I have seen this, I've studied it, I know that I've looked at this variation. But in the moment, in the tournament hall, I could not figure it out. I knew with all my heart that the right move here was queen a4 check. And of course, I'm forking the bishop and the knight, bishop and the king, so knight to c6 has to be played. And there's only one move here that's winning. I spent 15 minutes on it. You can try and pause the video or just listen to me rant about how annoyed I was and try and figure it out while I'm talking. I could not figure it out. So because of that, I didn't play queen a4. So upsetting. The right move in this position is understanding that the knight is defending the bishop, but it's really not defending the bishop. Queen takes b4 anyway. Knight takes the queen. And now you're not pinning my knight anymore, so I can take your queen. And because I took a bishop and a queen, and you only took a queen, you have to take my knight back. Like, otherwise you're just down a piece. And since it's white's turn, you're not pinning my knight to my queen anymore. So I can just take on e5. I'm hitting the bishop with tempo. I'm up a pawn. Like, this is just a dream out of the opening. And by the way, if you try to go, oh, I got a big fork. No, you don't have a big fork, because when I move out of the way, king d2, and you take my rook, I also fork you. So we just trade forks. Like, this it doesn't do anything for you. So, and not only that, I was already up a piece. So we traded forks after I was up a piece, and you're not doing anything productive with it. So for that reason, yeah, this would be just a complete win. I don't play it. I don't see the move, and I couldn't figure it out, so I didn't want to leave all this pressure with the pins without playing the right plan. So I played bishop to d2. And I accept the fact that at some point, something like takes is going to damage my pawn structure, but I try to figure out the best way to do it. After bishop takes c3, the best way is bishop takes c3. Again, I don't play it. I spent 15 minutes on missing queen a4. I spent another 5 minutes playing b takes c3 instead of the right move bishop takes c3. And the difference here is that after takes, and takes, well, when you take this pawn, yeah, you have weak pawns in the f-file, but the connected pawns here are actually better than the scenario that we did get with b takes c3, bishop takes, queen takes, f takes, g takes f3. And after this, I thought, at least I have a passed pawn. I have a passed pawn. It could be something to utilize as counterplay. But when you compare it to this, the A and B pawns are buddies. They work better together than the D pawn that's by itself and actually ends up being weak and very difficult to defend because I don't have much to defend it with. So after he develops the knight to f6, I develop my bishop to try and prevent him from castling. He goes a6, I bring my rook, he develops his knight, and he castles along. And in the moment, I actually didn't even realize that he can't really take on d4 yet because this rook is pinning this knight. So if you take with the knight, there's some sort of discoveries with the bishop, you know. And if you take with the rook, then obviously you can't take that right now. But either way, I get this check and I play rook to d1. Totally unnecessary, especially because this check breaks the pin. But I'm just trying to get pieces active, and that's what I do with king f1. He jumps out. I play bishop f5. Totally empty attack, not a real attack, but I just back up, and I didn't see a better way of dealing with this, so I end up just taking and playing rook to c1. He took. I played bishop to e4, and at this moment, my opponent started taking a crazy amount of time. I mean, he took a solid 20 minutes to play g6, and I was like, you could have played g6, probably could have played f5. Like, there's so many things you could have played. But I realized this is the last round of the tournament. I've been here for 4 days. I haven't been getting good sleep the last 2 nights in a row. I'm just going to play as fast as possible. My position sucks. I'm going to just try and play for some sort of counterplay on speed rather than the board. Well, I mean, ideally both, but I might need a little bit of help from the clock is what I was thinking. So I played king to g2. At least my rooks are connected. Otherwise, I'm just playing down a full rook. That's not ideal. After f5, I bring my bishop back. He plays b5. Now rook c3, and he offers to trade rooks. Now that I think about it, I probably should have just taken and then placed my rook on e1, because now at least there's an avenue forward to break into black's territory. But what I ended up doing was doubling up on the c file, and I realized quickly, oh wow, I can't avoid a rook trade. There's no good square for my rook to go to. So I have to trade down. The kid that I'm playing is doing a great job with eliminating any and all counterplay. And my one last plan is king g3, get over here, try and collect pawns, and then pray that the pass pawn is enough, even though the 2-on-1 is probably going to be fast enough. But he goes back. He's like, you want to go forward? No, you're not going forward. And if you want to go this way, like, how are you going to do that? The knight's right there. So I play h4 because I was like, okay, if the knight ever moves, at least I'll be, my pawn's going to be one step closer to being new queen. He plays h5, shuts it down. And I play I play a4. And if you take, then here, and at least, like this pawn maybe can be stopped. But, he doesn't play that. He just plays knight c5, like forking the pawn and the bishop. And here, I try my last ditch effort. I mean, I could probably take bishop takes this way, but instead I go like a takes b5. He takes my bishop, and I take here. Maybe the king gets distracted away from this, but hey, this knight is just doing too good of a job, because when I try f4 and going around this way, my opponent has this crazy idea. Knight to e1. And this is where we're getting into zugzwang territory, because every move is terrible. I mean, I can't get any progress towards this pawn. This pawn is a goner, so moving it doesn't really do anything. So what do I do instead? I'm like, okay, fine. f3. And my opponent is just so cruel, and he goes, okay, knight d3. I saw, like, I'm playing these moves in like 10 seconds at this point, because I'm losing unless this guy makes the blunder of the century. I just want to get this game over with and get ready to go to the airport. Knight d3 is so cruel. He played knight d3, knight e1, knight d3. Like, this guy just said, nope, no progress, no progress, no progress. You're in jail. The king will go nowhere. And yeah, if the king moves, just knight takes f4. And meanwhile, if the king doesn't move, then you just go and collect. Very depressing way to end the tournament. But honestly, when I take a step back, I learned so much from this. Like, the experience of playing so many classical games that took 3 to 4 hours. Like, a lot of my games went 4 hours. one, it was truly meditative. Like Sarah, aka Zephcat, said this in the streamer like panel that they had. She was like, over the board chess can be meditative because you're just taking a huge break from technology and from everything else going on in the world, and you're just focusing on what you're doing, the task at hand. And I had never really thought about that, but you're not, yeah, it's true. Like, you're not even like supposed to talk to anyone. You're not supposed to do, you're not allowed to be on your phone. Like, basically you're just in silence and just focusing, and it's honestly feels great. So lesson number 2 is that over the board classical chess wins and losses feel so much better and so much worse than online wins and losses. When I won that first game that I considered my immortal game, after 4 hours of grinding through this complicated position, I was beaming with happiness, like absolutely ecstatic. And yeah, nothing recently in my life could beat that feeling. And then when I lose these games like this one, it was a tough pill to swallow, but worth it because look, every loss is a learning experience, and that's all we can do. I mean, yeah, obviously I was pretty mad that I lost, but I will never forget Queen A4 in this line anymore. You know, I will never forget to play Queen A4 and Queen takes B4 as an idea in the Alapin. Yeah. I mean, going forward, it's very motivating. I'm hopefully going to play more over the board tournaments in the future. And as I do, I will keep you all updated. And if we ever do play the same tournament, then don't be afraid to come and say hi. Had a couple people in Vegas do that. And other than that, until next time, happy learning, everyone.